Wow. I was listening to that I am blessed, and I'm sure you've heard the affirmation, but it's my all time favorite. I'm too blessed to be stressed. I don't know about you, but sometimes I let the little things of life stress me out. Can anyone identify? Oh, okay. So that's always a great reminder. Every day we wake up, it's a blessing. This September will be my 20-year anniversary of being diagnosed with cancer. 20 years. And I'll share some of that story this morning. At one point, it spread to the fluid in my brain, and I was told by a doctor a less than 10% chance of living to 30. Last October, I turned 43. And I went to celebrate. I went to Publix, got a bottle of wine, and the cashier asked for my ID. And I was like, it's been a while since I've been ID'd. I was feeling so good. I reached into my pocket to get my ID, and she said, oh, never mind. I see gray. But can I tell you this? What a blessing to live long enough to get some gray. This thing called life. I look around, and one of the areas I study, I'm very eclectic, is the Course in Miracles. Anyone familiar with the Course in Miracles? And one of my favorite things in there, it says that Jesus became the Christ when he saw the face of God on all his brothers and sisters. Jesus became the Buddha. Jesus became enlightened. Jesus became love when he saw the face of God on all his brothers and sisters. And I'm looking around, and I see God. Knowing this and this great philosophy of Ernest Holmes, of science of mind, that we're all one mind. What a blessing. I want to also give you this. Not only I'm too blessed to be stressed, I'm too grateful to be hateful. Ooh. Because here's what I know. That simple affirmation is going to be implanted within you. And the Spirit, at the right and perfect time when you need it, will call it back up. I know this because before I ever got sick, I read this book, Think and Grow Rich. Has anyone heard this book? And in there, Napoleon Hill wrote that every adversity, every heartache, every failure carries with it the seed of an equal or greater benefit. I read that book 2 years before I was diagnosed with cancer my senior year of college. I had read that book over 200 pages, and that one quote was submerged in my subconscious. You see, I'll never forget that first night. I went from being a senior in college to laying in the hospital bed in the oncology floor. And I was at this St. Francis, Topeka, Kansas. And so because it was a Catholic hospital, they had the crucifix. Now, I don't know about you, but I think that has to be the scariest religious symbol ever. And it was this dark room, and there were shadows being cast. And that quote that I'd read 2 years earlier came up to me. You see, at first, all I could see was the negative. But then I said this prayer, and here's the thing. I was raised evangelical fundamentalist Christianity. Can anyone identify? By that time, I'd been an atheist. And I laid there in that hospital bed as an atheist, and I said a prayer to a God I didn't even believe in. I said intention, a spiritual mind treatment. You see, this is what I believe today, that all paths lead to God, because I believe God is all there is. And we call it different names. and different paths and different traditions. But we all know this. There's the one mind. And I laid there 20 years ago, and I said this prayer, that someday, somehow, somewhere, for someone, some good would come from my experience. And here I am today. And I believe one of the reasons why I'm still on this plane of existence, I call the physical in our earth suit. Because we know the reality, we are spiritual beings having a physical experience. And in the spiritual, we're eternal, we're perfect, we're whole. But in the physical body, we experience some illusions. And I know this. I know that we were meant to be here in this moment. A divine appointment. Because I know, just like that book I read 2 years prior, there's going to be something that Spirit, God, creative intelligence is going to communicate to you to plant a seed that will be harvested at the right and perfect time. And so today it's my intention just to speak from the heart. That was the Spirit there. I think we're supposed to mention this. Amen. I wrote this book, God is Love, 101 Bible verses on love. Because I don't know about you, but has anyone been exposed to a Bible that people have used to judge? And so one of the things I'm working on, I'm going to share a little bit today about this. I'm working on my Doctor of Divinity in Bible interpretation. And my thesis is to see the Bible through the lens of metaphysics, not literal only. And of course, we know the meta is beyond the physical. As Paul said, we don't look at the letter of the law, but the spirit of the law. So I'm going to share some of those things. But I created this as a project. I went through the Bible and 101 verses on love. And so I created this. They're out in the foyer. This is my gift to you for free. So feel free, please take one. Because I realize so many people have been beaten down by the Bible, and that's not what it's meant to do. It's meant to lift. And so this is part of my mission. So please take that as that was dropped, so the Spirit wants us to know that. And then I have these little bracelets say God is love. So feel free if you want to take one of those. Let me share another affirmation. Once again, I'm too blessed to be. I'm too grateful to be. Now this is another one. My ego is not my amigo. Oh, I believe laughter is a spiritual practice. Because when I laugh, when I smile, I'm in the moment. One of the things I love to share anytime I'm speaking, there was a study that showed the average 4-year-old laughs or smiles up to 400 times a day. How many of you have kids? How many have ever seen a kid? How many feel like a kid? We know it's true. But unfortunately, by the time they reach the age of 30, that number drops to 15. And I think partly the reason is because we get caught up in the illusion that we're separate from our Creator, that we're separate from the divine. You probably heard this before in the Course of Miracles, the preference, the prefix, the preference, the introduction, but I love it. It says this: nothing real can be threatened. Nothing unreal exists. Herein lies the peace of God. Nothing real can be threatened. Nothing unreal exists. Herein lies the peace of God. And for me, what that is saying is God is all there is. Paul writes in the book of Romans that nothing can separate you from the love of God. And yet sometimes I look around the world, and sometimes I look in my life, And it seems like there's so much pain, so much fear, so much division. And sometimes, I don't know if you ever had this, but I'm assuming perhaps you have. I say, God, where are you? Have you taken a time out? Are you on a break? Last year I went through seminary for all-faith seminary and graduated as an ordained minister interfaith. And the founder of that seminary was a rabbi, Rabbi Gellerman, who was in the Holocaust. Lost his whole family. And here was a man who could have chose to be bitter at life, to be bitter at God, but instead he went and founded the very first interfaith seminary because he wanted to bring religions together. And the motto of all faith seminary is never instead of, always in addition to. Isn't that beautiful? And I think that's beautiful, this message of Ernest Holmes, the message of one mind. That we don't have to agree on all the particulars of the names of the practices, but know at the end of the day, we are all one because God is all there is. My mom, I echo the words of Abraham Lincoln. Everything I am, everything I hope to be, I owe to my dear angel mom. And she made this craft for me, and I want to demonstrate. I think it's a good demonstration of life. Because in the back, and you all see this, you can't really tell what it is. It looks messy, right? I don't know about you. Who's ever experienced some messes in life? Don't have to raise your hand. Who's in one right now? You know, that's how I feel like sometimes. But this ultimately is an illusion. On the other side, it's a beautiful little flower. You see, if we had a title today, and I'm just kind of being collective, over 20 years, the last 20 years to share with you whatever Spirit wants me to share with you. But the title, working title, would be Think and Grow Spiritually. Think and grow spiritually. But the reality is, you can't get more spiritual than you already are. You can't get more God than you already have. And I think so many times we get caught up in being human doings that we forget we're human beings. You see, in Psalms, it says something very powerful. It says, be still and know that I'm God. And so this morning, I just want to share with you from the heart this mystery of life, this mystery of oneness, of a spiritual beings, but yet we live in this very physical world that seems really real, but ultimately dust to dust, ashes to ashes. One of my favorite Bible verses from Paul says, we don't fix our eyes on what is seen, but what is unseen. For what is seen is temporary, but what is unseen is eternal. You see, Paul wrote in Romans 12:1, don't be conformed to this world. We look out into the world and what do we see? What was that? Chaos. Fear, division, judgment. Don't be conformed to the world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind. What does that sound like? Is that not spiritual mind treatment? Some of you might not be familiar, maybe you are. Doing my research, my dissertation, one of my resources is a book by Ernest Holmes called The Hidden Power of the Bible. Anyone know he wrote a book about the Bible? Yeah. Isn't that something? So I want to read this script. Oh, I like this. Whew. I got to share this with you. This is some powerful stuff. So we're going to share from the Bible. We're going to share from Science of Mind, from the Course in Miracles. We're just going to allow the Spirit to flow. But I'm going to read from the book Revelation. You all familiar with that book? Beautiful. It's one of my favorite verses in Revelation, the second to last chapter in the Bible. It says this. So it's verse 21, chapter 21, verse 4. And God will wipe away every tear from their eyes. There shall be no more death. There shall be no more sorrow nor crying. There shall be no more pain, for the former things have passed away. Isn't that beautiful? You see, it's talking about the oneness. And I believe, once again, God is all there exists, but we get caught up in this illusion in the earth suit. Now, I want to share this. But first, let's do another affirmation. Another affirmation. If you would, please repeat after me. I am a co-creator.
I am a co-creator.
Ooh. Now, you've heard that before, right? And I think sometimes, at least for me, I hear that intellectually, but how does that play out in my life? It was January 2004. I've been in remission twice now, but because the cancer came back twice, the doctors wanted to do a bone marrow transplant. And so I was waiting for a donor, started having massive headaches. I was referred to Kansas Medical Center, originally from Kansas. I'll never forget that Monday morning. I'm sitting on that hospital bed waiting for the test results. I hear a knock. And into the room comes the doctor, who later on I would name Dr. Doom, because she's the type of person that brightens the whole room as soon as they leave. Y'all have some Dr. Dooms in your life? And we send her love. Here I was in my early 20s, and she comes in and she says, Matt, the cancer's come back, and it's spread to the fluid in your brain. Now, because of my positive attitude, the first thing I thought was, oh my goodness, I'm going to need a brain transplant. What? You see, here's what I believe. Once you realize that you're a spiritual being, that you're eternal, that you're perfect, and this is just a big adventure. Easier said than done sometimes. Because these illusions feel so real, don't they? So real. And then she said those words I shared earlier. You have a less than 10% chance of living to the age of 30. And she got up and she walked out. Which in hindsight, I'm glad she did. One of my mentors, Les Brown, said this: someone else's opinion of you does not have to become your reality. Don't be conformed to this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind, because you are what? You are a co-creator. I want to bring this to an apex, because this is exciting. John 1:1 says, in the beginning was the Word was with God, the Word was God. Now, that was 2,000 years ago, written in a different language, in a different culture. Is it okay if I give a modern-day paraphrase, a metaphysical paraphrase of that verse? In the beginning, you, Keith. In the beginning, you, Derek. In the beginning, you, Ruth. In the beginning, you were with the divine. And you are the divine. Is this not the message of religious science? Right there in the Bible 2,000 years ago. God, where are you? Wait, I am a co-creator. I think one of the most profound verses, scriptures in humanity, is found in 1 John 4:8-16, where it says, God is love. Now, what's interesting, that word love in the Greek is agape, is unconditional. You see, God is unconditional love. I don't know about you. I grew up being taught God is love, but. I'm here to tell you that there is no buts with God. Amen. How beautiful is that? Every single person is a creation of God. As it says in the very first book of the Bible, God created man, male and female, in his likeness, meaning we are an extension of God. In the beginning was you. You were with the divine, and you are the divine. Whew. I'm just getting warmed up, but we're going to wrap this up. Because I know this. I know that the divine, the creative intelligence is planting within you that which you needed. And not necessarily anything new, but to remind you what you already know. There's a profound verse in John. I like the Gospel of John because it's very metaphysical. In verse 1, verse 18, it says this. I'm going to use the Message translation. This is good stuff. No one has ever seen God. Not so much as a glimpse. It says in Hebrews that God's invisible. This one-of-a-kind God expression who exists at the very heart of the Father has made him as plain as day. In Romans it says through the begotten. Here's the thing. God who is invisible is made visible through our unconditional love for others. Where's God? God is right here in this room. Each one of us. That beautiful poem. Is that poem not powerful? Because it's so easy to come to the illusion, and what can I do? And God, where are you? But realizing right here in the Tampa Bay, every day, every person we come across, opportunity just to share love. I came across this poem, and it was from a Catholic saint, so I just adapted. Is that okay if I adapted it? Love has no body but yours. No hands, no feet on earth but yours. Yours are the eyes through which love sees compassion on this world. Yours are the feet which love walks to do good. Yours are the hands through which love blesses the world. Yours are the hands, yours are the feet, yours are the eyes. You are love's body. Love has no body now on earth but yours. And we can separate love for God because God is love and love is God. Mother's Day 2004, I was recovering from a successful bone marrow transplant. Into the room walked Dr. Ganguly. We fired Dr. Doom. And he walked in and he said, Matt, you get to go home. And the first thing I did was I picked up the telephone and I called my mom and I said, Mom, happy Mother's Day. I get to go home. And she said, Matt, this is the greatest Mother's Day gift ever. And I've been in remission ever since. And sometimes I wonder, why me? Why am I still here? And I believe one of the reasons why I'm still here is because of you. Because something that the creative intelligence, God, love, source wanted me to share with you to plant something in you. You see, the reason why I'm still here is the reason why you're still here. To co-create with God on earth. And so I want to close with these affirmations, 2 affirmations. If you feel comfortable, perhaps maybe close your eyes and really feel this affirmation. Feel it in your source. It's a very simple one. And basically, we're just going to say, I am love. But I want you to really to feel it, to understand that when we say I am love, that's the divine, that's God. So together, let's say, I am love. Now, if you feel comfortable, open your eyes. If you would like to, we just want to maybe hold out your hands. And we look around the room, and we'll say this affirmation and close. You are love. So here we go. You are love. And so it is. So it is.